What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Sticks, and I'm back with a video. Hey, check this out. Today's video is going to be about Charleston White and how he became the person he is today. So, a while back I did a reaction on him, and there was a lot of people in my comments telling me that he's just misunderstood, and if I was to really watch his content, I would understand. So I wanted to go see some of his content. That way I could give a proper reaction to who he is. The first thing I would say is he's definitely a lot more intelligent than I gave him credit for in the beginning. That's for sure. He knows drama sells, and he's taking full advantage of that. But as far as his life story goes, what I gather was, so when he was a young boy, he was never really accepted into any group at all. The kids used to bully him and push him around because he was a lot smaller than a lot of the kids. He would go home to his mom crying a lot, and he would just be outside in the dirt playing cars by himself and just basically being by himself. Well, he says, this is his words, one day there was a group of guys and they wind up getting into a fight with him. And one of the kids put him in the headlock and he wasn't able to breathe. So as he was sitting there kicking and screaming, begging the guy to let him go, he wasn't able to breathe. The kid wouldn't let him go. So Charleston got to yelling for his mom and begging and pleading for his life. And finally, right before he lost consciousness, the kid let him go. Charleston White took off flying, hit a little patch of woods where a sharp stick stabbed his eye out. Ever since that day, he has a phobia of anything sharp, anything at all. Because he only has one more eye, and he does not want to lose that. So, a little bit later on in life, after not having friends for so long, finally a group of guys accepted him. He was hanging out with these guys. He really thought that he was a part of something. He was happy every day with his smile and everything. And then, due to hanging out with these guys, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. One of the guys upped the fire and killed a white guy. So, they all get arrested. The first thing Charleston White says, there's no way I'm going to be able to do prison time without getting beat up constantly. I couldn't even make it through school. How am I going to make it through prison? So he instantly got a hold of the DA and started writing statements on his friends. Now, when trial day came, he actually got on the stand and pointed the finger, thinking that it was going to get him out of going to prison. Well, he still went to prison. It did get him less time, but he still had to go to prison. So he got into prison, and he was having major flashbacks from when he was a young kid. He said the blacks wouldn't accept him because he had paperwork. The whites wouldn't accept him, so it was like he was back to being a little boy again, where he was not accepted. Everywhere he would turn, people were picking on him, taking his food, taking his commissary, beating him up constantly, making him sleep under the rack and everything. He had to walk around prison looking at the floor at all times, because if he was to look up, he would get beat up. So one day, the guy who had keys for the block told him, he said, look, I know you're tired of getting extorted. I can help you. And Charleston White basically fell to his knees and said, please, how? How can you help me? And he said, look, if you give me this much in commissary and you do everybody's laundry on this whole block, that'll stop them from beating you up, because nobody wants to beat up the guy that's doing their laundry. And he begged him. He said, Hal, please, Hal, how can I get that position? And the guy told him, he said, okay, I'm going to go and talk with the Whites and my homeboys, and if they're cool with it, nobody's going to be able to beat you up anymore. You'll actually be able to look straight forward without getting your head taken off. But we want the clothes ironed, nice creases, everything properly clean, and anytime clean, brand new or clean sheets come through, or underwear or something, you bring that straight to me. Charleston agreed. That's where he spent most of his time in prison, was in the laundry room doing everybody's laundry. And sometimes people would come in and tell him, this does not smell Tide Fresh. This does not look like my mom washed it. And they would slap him. So then he got very good at doing laundry. He would stand in there with that little black thing on his head trying to get waves, and he would be ironing and ironing until his arms couldn't take no more. But to him, it was better than constantly being extorted and beat up every time he turned around. So he was allowed to start eating honey buns and stuff like that. And, you know, he really found a place for himself in prison. And that was with the other guys that were getting extorted in the laundry room. They became their own little group of wimps that run around prison. He said because of his situation in prison, in school, and being a kid, and never being accepted, he vowed to get revenge in any way necessary on everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are. So when I called him a racist, you're right. He's not racist. He's just a hater and a rat. So the thing about it was, eventually he would get out of prison while his co-defendants were still in there. But the thing was, there was so much crime going on in the neighborhoods, and he wanted to be like some type of superhero at night. His mom, she knitted him a blanket and he would tie it around his neck, and he would run through the neighborhood acting like he was fighting crime and everything. Always watching out for sharp objects though. That was his kryptonite. Anything sharp, he would just straight up run, because it would bring him back to that day of getting his eye poked out with a sharp stick. So he's running through the neighborhood, a grown adult, just trying to be a superhero, fighting crimes in the back. And the thing about it was, he would constantly go to the police station and tell the cops about all this petty crime that was going on in the neighborhood. Like, you know, JoJo from down the block, he smoked a blunt earlier, and I'm pretty sure that one guy is the guy who stole all the change out of the car. But he was at the police station so often that the police got together and said, how can we stop this rat from coming in here every day with these different stories that we don't even care about? So they used their head. They went to Walmart and got him one of those things you would get the kids that come with the little badge and the plastic gun and stuff. And then next time he came into the police station, they told him, they said, look, instead of coming in here every day ratting on every single thing that you see going on in the neighborhood, we want you to join our team. And it took him right back to prison when he made the deal with the guy doing laundry. Charleston hit his knees again and he said, "Please, officer, please. How can I be a part of fighting crime?" And the police officer told him. He said, "Look, take this plastic badge, put it on your shirt. Here's your gun. Yeah, it's only a cap gun for now, but if you do a good job, we'll move you up to a mace gun or something like that. But first, you got to get your practice. Here's the other thing. We don't want you to keep coming in the police station telling us about these petty crimes. So what we want you to do is write it down on a piece of paper, address it to the FBI in North Pole, and drop it in the mailbox. And you could be sure that one of our officers will read it and they'll report back to us. That way nobody sees you coming in the police station constantly and telling." And his little eyes lit up and he got that big goofy smile that he gets. And he said, "You're right. Nobody will have to see me coming into the police station, so they won't think that I'm in here snitching." So for the longest time, he would just constantly sit there with the notepad and he would write down every little crime that he would see throughout the neighborhood. And this would just build up and build up until he feels like basically he's became an FBI agent himself. So when all this happened with Soldier Boy just recently, Soldier Boy supposedly got out of the little vehicle with a couple of his friends. They stopped and tied their shoes, which gave Charlie, Officer White, it gave him enough time to think about what he was going to do. And he remembered back to when he was a little kid and that one kid got him in the headlock and he said, "Oh, hell no, I'm not going through that again." But he knew better than to run, because the last time he ran, he lost his eye. So he's not willing to risk running anymore. His only defense would be to pick up that pepper spray he worked his way up to and just let Soldier Boy and his whole entourage just have it. He just completely unloaded the whole can of mace on the Soldier Boy. Now, I wasn't there, but eyewitnesses said that Soldier Boy instantly just started doing the Superman, and he was dancing all around, saying, "Damn, did you mace me? Did you mace me?" And Charleston White got that same shitty grin on his face like he did when he talked to the police. And he said, "Yeah, man, I maced you. What do you think?" Well, it was enough for Soldier Boy and his entourage to retreat. He held up the can of pepper spray and he looked at the power he was wielding in his hand. And he said, "Wow, this is some really powerful stuff." So then he stood out on the block and was giving demonstrations to people about how sticky this pepper spray was and how you could actually fight crime with a can of pepper spray. You could be a superhero with your can of pepper spray. And that's really all Charleston White ever wanted to be, was a rat superhero. He practiced his whole entire life. He practiced how to do this. And finally, he was able to get some respect. He saw people talking about him. It was all over the internet. Hell, I think even academics wanted to interview with him. Everybody wanted to know, how did he get so smart to realize to use the pepper spray? And he said, "Well, a couple years back, the police officers gave me a cap gun, and I wielded that thing for so long and so well that they moved me up to this pepper spray, which is really just used for fighting off small animals and rodents. But because he had no other option, he used it. That's the day Charleston White realized how powerful he really was. So to all Charleston White fans out there, you're right. I had the guy all wrong, altogether. I mean, what would you do if you spent your whole life never fitting in? Have you ever heard that saying? It beats being poked in the eye with a sharp stick. Charleston White actually made that saying. That's his saying. You can actually be copyrighted for even saying it, so I'm sorry that I even said it. But yeah, that's his thing. So like my homeboy ODM would say, if you stand next to a bitch, you're probably a bitch. If you stand with a rat, you're probably a rat. It's just my thoughts. If anything I said in this video seems wrong, put it in the comments. Let me know. Where did I go wrong? What did I say? Until next time, hold your head and stay out of lockup.